In a time when sneezing or coughing will make people literally flee from you, this happened on the floor of the Senate on Tuesday.
Like the President mentioned in our closed session, we have been able at one time or other to get in touch with her. I have been speaking with her until her illness became quite protracted. May her soul rest in peace.
You can imagine how the lawmaker sitting right in front of him fled to another seat. Hello, I am Georgina Ndukwe-Ezeanyika, and you're watching from the National Assembly. Welcome. Now, what you saw was the Chairman Senate Committee on Agriculture, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, frightening his colleagues during plenary with a sneeze. One would have expected he would sneeze into his face mask. Well, it happened when the majority leader of the Senate, Abdullahi Yahya, was announcing the death of their colleague, Rose Oko, who died on Monday night at a UK facility at the age of 63.
She has been ill for quite some time, and most of our members could have noticed in the last month or so the very large and loud absence of our colleague. Like the President mentioned in our closed session, we have been able at one time or other to get in touch with her. I have been speaking with her until her illness became quite protracted.
So the coronavirus is ravaging most countries of the continent. So far, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has announced more cases being confirmed positive in Nigeria. The Senate had to adjourn plenary for 2 weeks as part of efforts to check the spread of the deadly coronavirus. President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, announced this on Tuesday after a closed-door session that lasted for about an hour. It was a solemn mood at the National Assembly as lawmakers trickled into the red chambers on Tuesday morning. Though most of the legislators present guarded their faces with surgical masks, many chose to stay away. Many had anticipated what would happen. But shortly after taking the votes and proceedings, the Senate went into an executive session that lasted for close to an hour. Emerging from the meeting, the President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, announced what all had expected to hear.
The Senate further resolved to adjourn sitting for 2 weeks from today due to the pandemic of coronavirus ravaging the entire world. And therefore, the Senate resumes on the 7th of April.
Before proceeding on this forced break, a few last words. Advice to Nigerians to comply with measures recommended by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, to prevent further spread of the virus. And advice to the federal government to devote more funds to tackle COVID-19.
The federal government should give financial and other resource assistance to the states in the fight against the virus.
Senator Lawan has given assurances that the Senate committees on health and primary health care will continue to engage the presidential task force on ways to curb the coronavirus outbreak. The Vice Chairman, Senate Committee on Trade and Investment, Senator Francis Fadahunsi, has also advocated a 3-day lockdown across the country to curb the spread of coronavirus. Senator Fadahunsi also advised lawmakers who recently came back into the country to self-isolate for 14 days, as instructed by the Center for Disease Control, NCDC. Concerns of the gradual spread of coronavirus led to the Senate suspending plenary for 2 weeks on Tuesday. There are also calls for lawmakers who recently traveled to the UK to ensure they go into self-isolation as a precautionary measure. Sadly, some of those lawmakers ignored the NCDC's instruction and attended plenary on Tuesday. For Senator Francis Fadahunsi, he believes it is not enough to assume the affected legislators would use the suspension of plenary to self-isolate.
We have already advised them to go to, and the federal government has the power to call them because they pass through immigration. If they mix with the public, then this thing can continue to spread.
He is also suggesting a total lockdown in Nigeria for 3 days in order to sanitize streets and markets.
My own fear is just like Lagos, Ajegunle, and so on, Agege, then Ibadan. You have all those densely populated areas.
Spokesman for the Senate, Godia Akwashiki, confirmed to journalists on Tuesday that the 2-week break was meant for all senators to go into self-isolation. He debunked insinuations that he also traveled to the United Kingdom.
For the past, I think, 2-3 months now, I have not been to London. People just misled. I traveled to Niger for ECOWAS Parliament.
When I had interaction with the task force last week on Friday, they didn't complain. And this is on my record. They didn't complain that any National Assembly member...
As health officials battle to contain the spread of coronavirus in Nigeria, citizens are being advised to practice high hygiene standards as well as remain indoors for now. If you remember last week, we told you that the 2020 budget will have to be reviewed, while the leadership of the National Assembly this week met behind closed doors with relevant stakeholders of the economy to discuss the state of the economy, the planned review of the 2020 budget and government's plan to mitigate the impact of COVID-19. Now, the outbreak of the coronavirus and the crude oil price war between Russia and Saudi Arabia has greatly impacted the country's economic realities and projections, with consequential effects in virtually all sectors of the economy, thus necessitating a review plan. We'll take a short break. Please stay tuned to the program from the National Assembly. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Now, everyone is doing their part to ensure that we overcome the coronavirus as a country and also help those already infected. The House of Representatives this week directed the Ministry of Education to immediately make available hostels of federal government colleges which are on vacation across the country to be used as emergency care centers and isolation units by the Federal Ministry of Health and the NCDC. The resolution followed a motion of urgent public importance moved by the leadership of the House, with the Speaker, Femi Gbajabiamila, as its sponsor. The House also passed the economic stimulus plan before adjourning plenary for 2 weeks. Correspondent Grace Ike has details.
The resolution of the leadership of the House may turn out to be a proactive measure aimed at containing the spread of the coronavirus. The House is urging the Ministries of Education and Health to urgently swing into action. Beyond that, lawmakers say it is time for the Central Bank of Nigeria governor to brief the House on palliative measures being designed to cushion the effect of the virus on the nation's economy.
Have enough hospital beds, intensive care units, respirators, testing kits, thermal disinfection equipment, and personal protective equipment. We are also short of the numbers of medical personnel required to manage a significant national outbreak of the disease.
Brief must include a procedure and requirement for the disbursement of earmarked intervention funds under the emergency policy measure. The House is also urging President Muhammadu Buhari to exercise his authority under the customs excise tariffs to remove any import or excise duty on essential medical equipment as determined by the Ministry of Health for the management of COVID-19 disease in the country.
Interventions at this time require the full cooperation and support of the executive arm of government, without which not much will be achieved. Therefore, we will seek to act in unison, making sure that our interventions complement the actions already being taken by the ministries, departments, and agencies of the government.
So the House has passed the Emergency Economic Stimulus Bill to elevate the financial burden on citizens following the economic downturn occasioned by the outbreak of COVID-19 disease.
Residential mortgages obtained by individual contributors to the National Housing Fund for 180 days in the first instance.
Bill is to provide for relief on corporate tax liability, suspension of import duties on selected goods, and deferral of residential mortgage obligations to the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria for fixed term to protect jobs and elevate the financial burden on citizens.
Plus 8. Plus 9. Do we have observation in our rules?
Plenary has been adjourned to the 7th of April due to COVID-19 outbreak.
Now, this lawmaker, a member of the House of Representatives, Abiola Makinde, is calling on President Muhammadu Buhari to address the nation on the current deadly virus ravaging the countries in the world. The lawmaker representing Ondo East-West Federal Constituency made the call in Abuja in an exclusive interview. Representative Abiola Peter also holds the opinion that Nigerians must wake up to the reality on ground by taking precautionary measures to prevent a further spread of the disease. He advised Nigerians to wash their hands regularly and stay away from unnecessary gathering.
This was before this case of, this suspected case. They've been able to give thousands of these to people. And hand sanitizer free to everybody, not to everybody per se, but at least to a larger number of people. But the most important thing, they were creating awareness that it's better for us to prevent this. So my advice to our people: make use of this, and if you don't get this, buy from anybody. It wasn't given by the government, though. It was an initiative that was completely done by Dr. Rhoda Makinde, my wife, who is also the coordinator of that DROMI initiative. So the government is doing enough. They're trying their best. I commend the Ministry of Health. I've seen them online. I've seen them on TV talking to people about it. My advice, the president should address the nation. That I think is high time for him to speak. It doesn't matter the age. What matters most is your position. The president should speak to his people. Nigerian government is trying, but the leadership need to stand up to at least address the nation.
The House of Representatives this week also debunked the allegation that 15 members of the House have contacted the virus and have refused to submit themselves for screening and self-isolation. Spokesperson of the House of Representatives, Benjamin Kalu, made this known in Abuja while briefing journalists on news making the rounds that members of the National Assembly, particularly the House, have been infected with the virus. Representative Kalu also noted that members will have to suspend visits to their constituency in line with federal government's directive to ban gatherings and public worship of more than 50 persons and advised the media to be accurate in their reportage.
Fake news that is flying around that members of the National Assembly, especially the House of Rep, has 15 who have been infected. I've received a lot of inquiries, and even members asked me to address it publicly. And I told them I needed to get the statistics from the right source. Some of the people who are making these references, they have not declared the sources of their information. The integrity of any information is determined by the source from where it is coming. Is it a legitimate source? If it is not, it becomes a fake news. And you know, just like I do, that the impact of fake news has distorted the life of the society, and we are fighting against it presently. So we related through the Committee on Health Services and Committee on Health Institutions, and I asked them as my colleagues who are the chairman of these particular committees whether or not they have liaised with the NCDC to find out the records of how many members of the House of Representatives have been infected. And to my greatest joy, that story was a fake news. NCDC could not confirm that any member of the House of Representatives was infected by this virus. And until we get such formal, documented, authentic information, consider the information that is trending online, consider it as fake news.
Welcome back. You're still watching from the National Assembly. As I conclude this edition of the program, let me show you how some cities in the world that have been tourist attractions now become deserted as citizens comply with the sit-at-home instruction of their government. The once bubbly cities of China, Australia, Spain, Italy have now turned into ghost towns, even the FCT. As you spend more time at home, remember it is through proper hygiene that you can stop the spread of coronavirus. Wash your hands for at least 40 seconds or use a hand sanitizer. Eat fruits, vegetables to boost your immune system. Avoid hugging, shaking, or touching surfaces, especially your face. If you have to sneeze or cough, sneeze into a tissue and dispose immediately. Stay safe and make sure you join us same time next week for another edition of From the National Assembly. I am Georgina Ndukwe-Ezeanyika on behalf of the production crew. Thank you so much for watching.